communist leader Joseph Stalin announces to Russian workers and peasants the country's first 5-year plan and his new revolutionary idea of creating collective farms.
Russia's history is marked by a large period of backwardness both in industry and in agriculture. This backwardness goes back to the times of Tsarism, before the revolution even took place. The revolution saw Lenin take control as head of the state, and in his program, a need for industrialization was clear in order to modernize Russia. Lenin remained head of the state for years, during which not much modernization occurred. Fatal strokes eventually led to his retirement and subsequently his death, and the power struggle to take his position began. The two candidates for the position were Joseph Stalin and Leon Trotsky. Against Lenin's wishes, Stalin eventually emerged as successor. As soon as he got into power, Stalin saw that his biggest aim was the industrialization of Russia. The USSR was a poor, backward country that Stalin wanted to transform into a modern, powerful, and industrial nation that could compete with the Western countries. In order to accomplish this as quickly as possible, he issued 3 5-year plans in 1928. These 5-year plans had 3 main goals: to improve machinery in order to increase production, to catch up the capitalist West and become an emergent power, and lastly to have a strong army capable of defending itself from attacks. Such was Stalin's desire to industrialize that in 1931 he stated, "We are 50 or 100 years behind the advanced countries. We must make good this distance in 10 years. Either we do it, or they will crush us." Stalin issued the first 5-year plan on October 1928, and it lasted until December 1932. This first plan was largely based on heavy industry. These plans included a system called the quota system, by which factories were given a certain goal of production to be fulfilled. These later proved to be ineffective, since managers had to lie about the numbers in order to spare their lives from punishment, and in some cases, even the gulag. During the first 5-year plan, the USSR experienced minimal growth. Small-scale businesses were closed, and the quotas were so unachievable and unrealistic that they were not fulfilled. However, electricity production trebled, the coal and iron production doubled, and the steel production increased by 1/3. January 1933, Stalin issued the second 5-year plan. It was still based on heavy industry, even though it also focused on developing and consolidating the communication systems between cities. The second 5-year plan, however, had similar results to the first one: minimal industrial growth. The target quotas were revised and then scaled back in order to make them more achievable. But the inefficiency of the plans came to such an extent that even party leaders were now prepared to face and accept the undergoing problems. There existed a period from 1934 to 1936, which was known as the 3 good years. This was due to the fact that there was less pressure, food rationing ended, and the achievements were impressive. The second 5-year plan ended in December 1937. The third 5-year plan, that lasted from January 1938 to June 1941, had to face the upcoming World War II. Hitler had taken over most of Western Europe and was now preparing to invade Russia. Stalin, who saw this coming, issued the third plan in order to prepare Russia for war. Therefore, the plan was not only still focused on heavy industry, but was also concentrated in increasing war material. There was an economic slowdown, even though there was a general increase in industrial output. Some areas, such as steel and oil production, did poorly. Factories ran short of materials, and most of them were used for war materials. However, by 1941, the USSR was successful in industrializing and creating a powerful industrial base capable of beating Nazi Germany.
Russian people owed everything to the party, to the state, and to the leader. So, in this sense, the whole society was in debt.
The 5-year plans were not very popular among the workers and the peasants, who saw their work doubling, but their income remained still. There were peasant uprisings. They demanded more liberty and less work. But Stalin's terror was of such greatness that he quickly silenced them. Most peasants were now afraid to protest. Despite problems with statistics, most historians agree that there was substantial growth in heavy industry during this period. However, most also agree that the command economy also had its weaknesses: unrealistic targets, bribery, corruption, and shortages. The economy was ill-organized, badly coordinated, and chaotic. There were imbalances in the economy. Heavy industry took priorities over chemicals, transport and consumer goods, and the living conditions remained abysmal. Most historians conclude that it was a massive step towards industry, trying to do the impossible in conditions of appalling backwardness. The targets set seemed unattainable, but this served to drive people forward to achieve the impossible. Eventually, the rapid industrialization led them to industrialize quickly enough to defeat the Nazi German invasion during World War II, and thus change the course of history.